advancing the CARICOM single market and economy to top the agenda of the annual Heads of Government Summit this week. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Tuesday, July 2 from the CMC News Center in Bridgetown. I'm Ricardo Roberts. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. CARICOM leaders opened their 40th annual summit in St. Lucia on Wednesday, laying much emphasis on the progress that has so far been made regarding the implementation of the CARICOM single market and economy, the CSME. From Castries, CMC's Peter Richards reports.
The CSME allows for the free movement of goods, skills, labor and services across the region. And following the special summit that was held in December last year, the regional leaders will receive a progress report, in the words of the CARICOM Secretary General Erwin LaRocque, as to where countries have reached or not reached since December. LaRocque told CMC News that the three-day meeting, which will also be addressed by United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, will also receive a report from the High-Flying Commission on the Economy chaired by Professor Avinash Prasad. The commission is intended to advise regional leaders on a regional growth agenda.
The main issues that we'll be looking at are CSME. We'll get an update on where we are with the agreed work program, the work plan for the CSME. A report on that will be happening. We'll also have an opportunity to engage with the private sector, a group of private sector persons, labor and civil society, on how there is greater collaboration with them in terms of seeing greater implementation of the CSME. So that will also take place. The Commission on the Economy will also report on issues that pertain more to issues of growth and sustainable development, and that the final report is not due until intersessional meeting, but an interim report will be given. Crime and security will also be on the agenda. The issue of greater collaboration on addressing transborder crime.
And what of Haiti? The meeting here is taking place as President Jovenel Moise continues to face opposition calls for him to step down amid allegations of embezzlement relating to the Petro-Carib oil initiative. Moise will be present at the summit.
And there will be an opportunity for an interaction with him on the situation in Haiti. And we have to wait to see what that is. You know, CARICOM has issued a statement calling for all parties to dialogue and calling for peace and calm and to find a solution, a peaceful solution to the situation in Haiti.
The situation in Venezuela, where the opposition forces have been seeking to remove President Nicolas Maduro, will also be a topic of discussion here.
On the question of Venezuela, of course, the three heads who have been designated to deal with the issue will be present, and there will be a discussion on Venezuela. And the way forward, the region remains united on the issues of non-interference, non-intervention, peaceful solution and dialogue, and we encourage the parties to dialogue, and we encourage other persons on the outside to allow and encourage dialogue as well. Our region cannot afford to see anything like regime change, violent regime change taking place in Venezuela. It's going to impact upon us as well.
The Prime Minister of Norway, Erna Solberg, who will be the special guest of the regional leaders, will no doubt make an input into the Venezuela's crisis, given that her country is also seeking to find a solution to the situation in the South American country. From Castries, St. Lucia, I am Peter Richards for CMC News.
St. Kitts Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris says the Twin Island Federation has become the first independent state in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union to bring its debt to GDP ratio in line with the international benchmark of 60%. Now, Dr. Harris told a press conference the country's debt-to-GDP ratio declined even further to 56.4% for the period ending March of this year. Now, at the end of March 2018, the debt stood at 62.3% and at 58% as at December 2018. Now, according to the Prime Minister, under the former administration, the country's public debt ballooned to an estimated $1.05 billion, or about 200% of GDP. The Monetary Council of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank announced in a March 2017 communique that its goal is for the ECCU member states to reach the ultimate 60.0% debt to GDP ratio by 2030. St. Kitts and Nevis achieved this milestone 12 years ahead of that target date. And the International Monetary Fund says it remains concerned over the high employment and rising public debt in the Bahamas, even as it welcomed strengthening economic activity and the prospect of continued growth. Now, the IMF is projecting 1.8% economic growth this year. It added that the increase in inflation is projected to have been temporary. According to the Washington-based financial institution, economic activity was supported by tourism, while foreign investment projects continued to drive activity in the construction sector. However, unemployment remains high at 10.7% in November 2018, as the current account deficit widened to 16.4% of GDP in 2018, reflecting higher oil prices and imports associated with the conclusion of a large foreign direct investment project. The IMF noted that the banking system is well capitalized, but credit to the private sector continued to contract in 2018, even if at a more moderate rate. Banks have improved their balance sheet quality, and average non-performing loans declined from their peak of 15.4% in 2013 to 9.1% in 2018. Trinidad and Tobago's Police Commissioner Gary Griffith says the island's police service is succeeding in cracking down on human trafficking in the Twin Island Republic. Now, Griffith made the comment following an incident on Saturday in which cops rescued 6 Venezuelan women and detained suspects in connection with a suspected human trafficking ring. The top cop says certain police officers may be aiding and abetting the perpetrators. He says random drug and polygraph testing of police officers will be implemented by the end of this month to weed out dirty cops, particularly those who are involved in undermining anti-crime fighting measures related to human trafficking. We get more in the CNC3 News report.
Police Commissioner Gary Griffith is asking the public to see the introduction of random drug testing and polygraph testing of police officers as a positive, as the police service works to clean up its act and improve its public image.
The first person that would be polygraphed and drug tested would be the Commissioner of Police, so that no one could question the fact of us targeting anyone. And I will expect that all police officers would not have an issue with this, because this is exactly what you did to get into the police service. By doing this, we'll be able to extract the sheep from the goat. Persons who would have failed or are reluctant to do so, they will be reassigned. I intend to clean out that Southwestern Peninsula to ensure that any police officer who is involved in aiding and abetting in illegal human trafficking, illegal entry of drugs or weapons entering the country, they must not in any way have the opportunity to do so based on where they are located.
The top cop says they're moving aggressively to shut down all brothels, seedy hotels, bars, and other businesses involved in human trafficking in this country. He points out that consumers of the illicit services will find themselves on the wrong side of the law too, and asserts that he will deal with police officers who are aiding and abetting these businesses in their illicit trade, as well as those facilitating the entry of illegal migrants for trafficking.
Pertaining to dancehall license, liquor license, the Commissioner of Police has the authority to go to the courts to demand that these things be shut down, are going to shut it down, each and every single one. All of these different personals that you see in all of the daily newspapers, all of the individuals who have been involved, but more so what I am targeting is the fact that when you have children being involved in this, and then persons are importing these individuals, using these individuals, this here is virtual slavery. This is sexual exploitation. This is human trafficking, and I intend to make a very big dent in this.
Top cop Gary Griffith says the arrest of several people connected to the weekend rescue of 6 Venezuelan women from a home in Diego Martin marks a big step in cracking a human trafficking ring. The commissioner says there's no doubt the rescued women were being trafficked.
These individuals were actually being transported on a nightly basis to specific places in Trinidad, where it is that they were performing certain acts. And again, it goes right back to the concept of human trafficking. They were being held and being told that, listen, they owe us tens of thousands of dollars for bringing you into the country. You have to pay us, and by paying us, we'll be extracting a certain sum from the activities that you will be taking part in, and it is put in such a way that they will never be able to pay back. Mm-hmm. And then by doing that now, it's basic slavery.
Several people also were arrested during the raid, which freed the women.
You're watching Caribbean Newsline. Still to come, Guyana removes custodial sentences for possession of small amounts of marijuana. We get that story after the break.
He used to be a coach. He knows exactly what he's saying. So, 35 minutes for the three-time winner St. Lucia, for our beautiful friends from Carriacou, where I'm going after this for a great holiday, and the singing Dominicans.
These two boys are right on. There are 4 burners on. There is some aromatics going in some hot oil. And St. Lucia has some good stuff in the blender. It looks like a green marinade of sorts.
For the first time since this BBC broadcast aired on the radio 70 years ago, a group of DC-3 and C-47 Dakotas carrying paratroopers fly the skies over Normandy, taking part in the 70th anniversary of D-Day. Known as DAX over Normandy, this display of aircraft and jumpers was developed by one of the lead organizers, Peter Brahm, an avid history buff and a paratrooper with more than 6,000 jumps.
The government of Guyana has approved a proposal to remove custodial sentences for people found in possession of small amounts of marijuana. In a statement, the government said after extensive discussions and reviews, Cabinet granted the approval for the sentences to be removed for anyone found with 30 grams or less of the drug. It added that possession remains an offense, but an individual will not be sentenced to prison as obtained in the past. The government said this is the first of several steps it intends to take as it considers the recently submitted CARICOM report on the usages of marijuana and in particular usages by Rastafarians who require it for use in their worship and sacrament. Police in Jamaica are reporting a 4% in major crime this year compared to the same period last year. There have been 675 murders between January 1 and June 29. That's 4 more than the figure for 2018. We get the details in this report from TVJ News.
Up to June 1, just a month ago, the number of murders was 42 fewer than for the corresponding period of 2018. But by June 29, the data switched. The latest police statistics show murders were 4 higher than at the similar point last year. 675 murders on June 29 were 127 more than the 548 the police reported on June 1, making June the second bloodiest month since the start of the year, following only May, when 134 murders were recorded. Broken down by divisions, murders were up in 11 of the 19 police divisions, with the Kingston Central Police Division showing the biggest increase, a 100% jump compared to a year ago. During the first 6 months of this year, 16 people were killed in the areas policed by the men and women from Kingston Central. Other divisions, such as Manchester, where murders were up 90%, St. Catherine South up 41%, Kingston Eastern up 36%, St. James up 33%, and St. Elizabeth up 30% were the police divisions with the biggest increases in murders. St. Andrews South is, however, the bloodiest police division. 94 murders were committed in the areas patrolled by the men and women who work at the Hunts Bay Police Station and its satellites. Clarendon with 70 murders was the second bloodiest, with St. James and St. Catherine South being third and fourth in this unwanted statistics category.
Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness says he is confident that his government will reduce the island's murder rate. He was addressing the commemoration of the 60th anniversary of the written constitution of the Cayman Islands in the capital Georgetown on Monday. We get more in this TVJ News report.
Crime situation is indeed a challenge for our country and a threat to our economic success.
It's not the first time Mr. Holness has spoken about the impact of crime on the economy. But to the concerned Jamaicans in the room, this promise.
And I promise you that the next time that I'm addressing my friends and family in the Cayman Islands, the next statistics that I will put out regarding our crime situation will be a phenomenal reduction in murders in our country.
But how? Mr. Holness did not get into details, only stating that the fight against crime is complex. He pointed to the social challenges.
Much of crime in Jamaica is generated by poverty. But we also have an element to consider, and that is also violence, and what is almost a culture of violence. And so in treating with crime, it is not just policing, it's economy, it's schooling, it's parenting, it's the media and what it promotes. So it is a very complex mix of solutions that have to be preserved.
Mr. Holness also promised that in the fight against crime, human rights of citizens will be upheld.
And ahead in Newsline Sport, India secures their spot in the ICC World Cup semi-finals. Stay with us. Sport is next.
Sandrina Joseph, 29, and her boyfriend, Jeremy Abella, 26. They were asleep in their home in the Tamarind Heights neighborhood of Activeville, the Cleary. Charles Augustine was found motionless underneath his house with several puncture wounds about his body. Ezra was nowhere to be found. Charles was pronounced dead that morning, and his son Ezra was subsequently tracked down by the police and arrested.
Welcome to this year's 50th Caribbean Broadcast Union Assembly on the island of San Andres. San Andres is a small archipelago located in between Jamaica and Panama in the Western Caribbean Sea. A lush, exotic island rich in culture, history, gastronomy, and breathtaking scenic views. Known for its beaches and 7-colored crystalline waters, the island of San Andres will be proudly hosting this year's event. CBU members will enjoy top-of-the-line accommodations for an unforgettable experience in San Andres, connecting Caribbean nations through this year's 50th edition of the CBU Assembly.
Well, India sailed into the semi-finals of the ICC Cricket World Cup after they eliminated Bangladesh by 28 runs at Birmingham on Tuesday. They posted a competitive 314 for 9 following a century from Rohit Sharma and contributions by KL Rahul, who scored 77 from 92 balls, and Rishabh Pant's knock of 48 of 41 deliveries. But it was a heartbreaking moment for the Bangladeshis, despite a valiant chase with half-centuries by Mohammad Shalfuddins and Al-Shakab Al-Hassan. Now, our Indian pacers Jasprit Bumrah's 4-wicket haul and 3 wickets by Hardik Pandya brought the curtains down on Bangladesh's illustrious World Cup campaign.
Once again, so much at ease.
Oh, got him. There you go. The captaincy matches the statisticians. Oh, that is a stroke. Crackerjack. Oh, he asks, does he get? No, he doesn't get.
Bat is very close to the bat. Ball, so stay with your decision, not out.
Oh my gosh, there's a lot of pace on that. What a clever shot. Straight in. Straight to cover. Shoma Sharkar is dumbstruck because he's just starting to bat well.
He's got a better feel this over. That's in the gap. Very well played. He's a very good cutter and puller, Mushfiqur. Once again the leg spin. Once again, and he's picked the wicket. Well, a great comeback by Chahal. Good shot. We'll get a single. Rahul at deep point. Very good. He's coming back for the second. That's very good running. Very good running from Shakib Al Hasan. Brings up his 50.
Lovely shot. Nothing little about that from Little. Oh, this could be out. Having said that, the big wicket has been picked up. Hardik Pandya gets his first. Bowl. Slowness of the pitch again. Gone. Shakib Al Hasan.
This time fine. Man on the boundary can't get there, so Shabir is keeping the flame burning. Oh, good shot by Saifuddin. Oh, directed, he might have been in trouble. Wouldn't even have been in the frame. Bowled in, ball straight, ball full. You miss, I hit. Oh, never mind, hang on in there. It's gone high and handsome. Oh, he's out, caught at the wicket. It's over for him. One mighty blow. Fabulous shot. And nearly a fabulous save, actually. What a 50 that is. What a way to go to 50. Oh, yes, quick, straight. Oh, yes. What a way to end a cricket match. Perfect Yorkers at searing pace.
Staying with cricket, West Indies captain Jason Holder has again found himself in trouble with the ICC's controversial overrate laws after his side were fined for a breach during the 23-run defeat to Sri Lanka on Monday. The Caribbean was 2 overs short of their target in the contest at Chesterley Street, leading to a 40% fine for Holder and a 20% fine for each player. Players are fined 10% of their match fees for every over their side fails to bowl in the allotted time, while captains are fined double. Now, according to ICC regulations, if West Indies find themselves in breach of the overrate laws in a one-day international again within the next 12 months with Holder as captain, the 27-year-old will face suspension. Holder was suspended for the 3rd test against England earlier this year due to West Indies' slow overrate during the 2nd test in Antigua. However, the ICC copped heavy criticism, especially since the 2nd test finished inside 3 days after West Indies routed the tourists by 10 wickets. On Monday, Sri Lanka were also fined for a slow overrate, with captain Dimuth Kuratnaratne and his side attracting identical sanctions after they were found to be 2 overs short of their target. Over to football now. Bibunan striker Naki Wells says he's desperate for a chance to prove himself at English Premier League club Burnley, but admits he won't be too disappointed if he moves on to another club from the Turf Moor. Once the main man at Huddersfield and earlier at Bradford City clubs, where he made his name as a free-scoring marksman, Wells admits last season's tally was a mediocre return, but he heads into this new season on the back of a successful CONCACAF Gold Cup with Bermuda after scoring a penalty against Costa Rica in Frisco, Texas, and a header in the 2-0 win over Nicaragua in Harrison, New Jersey, although the Caribbean side failed to advance from the group stage. Wells failed to score in 10 substitute appearances for Burnley after joining in the Lancashire club in August 2017 from Huddersfield Town and spent the last 12 months on loan at Championship outfit Queen's Park Rangers, where he found the net 9 times in 48 appearances. And in horse racing now, veteran rider Patrick Husbands landed his biggest win of the new Woodbine season when he produced a stalking ride aboard 5-2 Choice Speedy Soul to win the Canadian $225,000 Bison City Stakes on Sunday. Going a mile and 16th in the second leg of Canada's Triple Tiara, Husbands produced a sterling stretch rally aboard the Mark Cassie trained filly to trounce the 7-horse field by 3 1/4 lengths in a time of 1 minute 44.53 seconds. Woodbine's Robert Jella has the call.
Lady Azalea a length behind them, Raisina the centre, and last now Sociologist got back. Only about 5 lengths covers the field, and in the Bison City, sharing the lead, in Tanga Rose on the outside of Bold Script and neck, about 2 lengths away is Speedy Soul. Canadian Magic is 4th, to Lady Azalea. Sociologist the inside, and between them, bobbing along, is Raisina. Still little change, they reach the half mile, and on the inside, Bold Script still has the company of Intanga Rose. A length and a half Canadian Magic right behind them with Speedy Soul. And behind them, Lady Azalea on the rail, Sociologist, and Raisina is last. Intanga Rose on the outside shaves the lead away by a head to Bold Script. A length and a half away, Speedy Soul, Canadian Magic. In the clear now, Raisina is about 2 behind and starting to respond. Lady Azalea second last and Sociologist last. They turn in the Bison City. Intanga Rose on the outside. On the rail, Bold Script, stride to stride. Canadian Magic tapped up. Speedy Soul trying to get on the right lead and come at them now. And Speedy Soul is winding up really well. Intanga Rose in the center, Bold Script headed by Speedy Soul, who's gone by so impressively and runs away with the Bison City to win, and Speedy Soul by 3 1/2 lengths to Bold Script.
That's the sports. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome to this year's 50th Caribbean Broadcast Union Assembly on the island of San Andres. San Andres is a small archipelago located in between Jamaica and Panama in the Western Caribbean Sea. A lush, exotic island rich in culture, history, gastronomy, and breathtaking scenic views. Known for its beaches and 7-colored crystalline waters, the island of San Andres will be proudly hosting this year's event. CBU members will enjoy top-of-the-line accommodations for an unforgettable experience in San Andres, connecting Caribbean nations through this year's 50th edition of the CBU Assembly.
First of all, we're going to be using some Aphrodite bitters. This is a combination of chocolate, chili, and coffee. So we're just going to do about 2 dashes of that just to give it a little bit of a chocolate notes, a little bit of spiciness as well. And then we're going to use some Moroccan bitters. Why? Because I want it to have just a little tad of spiciness, but not like heat as if you wouldn't have jalapenos, you know? So just a couple of drops of that.
Again, the major headlines at this evening: advancing the Caribbean single market and economy to top the agenda of the annual Heads of Government Summit this weekend. That's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sports round the clock, subscribe to CarnaNews.com. We'll be back here again tomorrow, but from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching. Have yourselves a wonderful evening.